Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, and we have price predictions coming up with SL Crypto 369 and Jardine. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this. SL and Jill, thanks for coming back to the show. We've had some crazy things happening in the market and across all markets. So we're really glad to have both of you back to kind of give us some insight on what happened recently and then what you are both seeing for the future.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, definitely. SL, you want to kind of lead us off on what happened recently? I know we had Jill on, gosh, how long is it? It's been a little while.
August 16th.
Okay. Do you want to kind of go over what we went through there, kind of touch on that?
Yeah, if you can pull up the CoinGecko chart
Yeah.
for BTC, that'd be good. So yeah, Jill did a lot of prediction for Bitcoin because that's the focus of this community. We want to know when the market going up and when the market going down, so we can mentally prepare if the market has a huge correction. You know, we know that we should save some fiat to buy the coin when it's go down. Jill has a handful of macro predictions. She said on August 22nd, BTC she said August 22nd is upswing. Yeah, 49,000. And then she also said from August 22nd to August 31st, it's a mixed bag. I think what she meant is like the market is volatile. So on August 22nd, the BTC was at 49.2K. And then it went sideways. On August 31st, BTC was about 47.3. So from 49 to 47, you know, it's like, to me, it's going sideways. And then in another videos, he said that August 31st to September 7th, upward movements. We did have some upward movement on August 31st. BTC was at 47.3K. And then on September 6th, we went to 52K. From 47 to 52K is an upward movement to me. But then on September 7th, BTC dropped to 46,000 from 52,000. And then BTC went up on the 5th. And then it drops for a handful of days down to 44.8 on September 10th. So it's wild. And then for the last few days, let me see.
Yeah.
The market went down quite a bit, like 2 or 3 days in a row. I think because of full moon on the 20th.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yes. Yeah. So on the eve of the full moon, September 19th, the market started to tank about 10%. And then on, like yesterday, the market dropped from a lot, about 10% or more. Altcoin dropped a lot more. I went all the way down to $40,000. So I'm just curious, in terms of astrology, did we see that in the chart?
Yeah, so I guess when we look at Bitcoins, when we look at crypto in general, a good basis is to work with the Bitcoin chart. And what I'm just remembering from previous predictions, and also just to tell your listeners that we did do a most recent podcast on Cosmic Steam with Jardine. And in that, if they go back and listen to it, it's only about a week old. I did say that there was going to be a downward cycle around the 20th, which was the full moon. I remember, SL, you were saying, you mean the 16th, 17th? I'm like, no, the 20th, around the full moon, we're going to see a down cycle. And why was that? Well, in Bitcoin's chart, it was Pisces full moon. Pisces has to do with things dissolving, and the Pisces moon was going over something Bitcoin's chart, Uranus. So it was that big surprise of a dissolution or dissolving. So, astrology is so good for tracking cycles, as we were saying off air. And we have to remember, though, that astrology is cycles that are coming up based on a person's chart, or in this case, a project or a crypto. However, there is the whole other element of humans and people and the collective consciousness that interferes with perhaps trajectories. And in this case, what brought the markets down, as everybody is aware, is the Chinese real estate situation that then affected not only the crypto markets, but obviously the major markets. And what I was saying about this is it doesn't mean that we're now in a downward trajectory. I see this psychically, and this is we were going to talk about comparing the difference between psychic and astrological. But psychically, what I saw happening at this full moon on the 20th of September is a precursor of what could be happening in a couple months at that full moon lunar eclipse of November 19th. And sometimes that's how things work. We get a little precursor, a little heads up, like, okay, we're about to go on a bit of a wild ride here, so put your seatbelts on. And so if anything, I think everybody should be very savvy to noting what happened here. Although we saw astrologically, most were it's going to be an upward trajectory after late August into September. We did see this bump or blip on the radar coming. And my guides psychically, I'm like, whoa, this is confirmation to me for what I'm seeing happening with the whole economy later this year, which it may not even catch up to the whole economy until January of 2022. But for crypto, again, I think it's amplifying the predictions that I've had that, it should be fine all the way through November. But then we're going to get into an eclipse cycle that will be very, very dicey. And, I guess people have to think about how the lunar energy is also involved in these cycles. It can throw a little bit of a wrench or a whammy into what looks like a consistent movement of some sort. It's like a wave. Think about a wave. A wave comes in and it, knocks the boat down or knocks the surfer down. So this is sort of what we're seeing energetically.
So for the rest of September, so right now is September 22nd.
Yes.
Do you see that if the market will be volatile or going up psychically or astrologically? What do you see?
Happy autumnal equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere, by the way, on September 22nd. Well, I almost feel like because the aspect in the Bitcoin chart that the archetype was Uranus. So I think this was a shock for people. So think about what happens. And did you notice the news around the world? There's an earthquake. There was an earthquake.
The Palma Islands or something
Yeah.
like that.
In Australia.
The volcano in Las Palmas in Spain happened at that full moon, as did the earthquake in Melbourne, Australia. Mm-hmm. So that is kind of interesting that we had all kinds of quakes going on, literally, and this quake in the financial markets. So what I would like to say about that, what happens after a quake or a disruption such as a drop in the market, is that it does take a little while to recoup. So my prediction is that we're going to have some time here when things will get realigned when Mercury goes retrograde September 27th. And it will be retrograde until October 16th of 2021. So I think that, it's a little bit still like the aftershock effect is going on right now. And then about 5 days or so last week in September, we'll see some level of recovery. And then Mercury retrograde, as those of you who may know about astrology, it's good for recovery, reassess, recalibrate. All the RE words. We're going to realign. You're going to realign yourselves, and you're going to realign your commitment to cryptocurrency and whatever that means for you. But it is going to be a time of realignment. Now, my my predictions have been related to things really starting to pick up and going up. During that Mercury retrograde cycle, we will see that. And I think the first indicator will be around the 6th of October, which is a new moon. It's also a day Pluto goes direct. And this is a double astrological event. There's a lot of what we call aspects happening that day. And Libra, the new moon in Libra is the scales. So until the scales adjust themselves, we're going to have like up and down, up and down. However, after that, like I would say like the next day, the 7th and 8th, the moon goes into the sign Scorpio, which rules finances. I think we're going to see a big rally. I think we'll see, well, I won't say big, but there will be quite a rally after that new moon. Because maybe the day of, it's a bit of like, there could be a lot going on event-wise, but then financially for crypto, the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, I see as very good dates. The 10th being the day that Saturn, the planet that rules the collective, that both Pluto and Saturn have a lot of their for the collective and collective situations. So we're going to see a lot of action going on in the month of October. I can continue with the end of October as well, but SL, I feel like you have another question for me.
Oh no, we can talk about the tick token later on. We can talk about, we can talk about what a thing called BTC for like the prediction for September, October, November, if you have information.
Okay, so let me keep going because I mean, I have said this in the podcast we did together a week ago that's up there on my podcast, Cosmic Scene with Jardine. There are actually four key dates in the month of October that all eyes need to be on because you will see a shift. And I want to say that we're going to see the crypto markets and everything starting to take an upward trajectory. Okay. This is like, it's after the harvest moon, but we're on our way to the hunter moon. So we've got that new moon date of October 6th being a keynote date, September 10th. So that being said, that week of the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, that will be interesting. I still feel there's some ups and downs. The time when things are full speed ahead, even though there's a full moon involved in that timetable, is the 18th of October, is a day when Mercury and Jupiter go direct. Now, Mercury will go direct in the sign Libra. Jupiter goes direct in the sign the sign Aquarius. So that's a lot of air. Jupiter has been retrograde for many, many months, 4 months, 5 months. Jupiter is our abundance, okay? Jupiter in astrology signifies wealth and abundance. So that's been going backwards. That's why we haven't seen full rallies. My prediction is once Jupiter goes direct and Mercury goes direct, it's all on. The crypto markets are boosting. There will be a bit of volatility though around that hunter moon around the 20th. But then it seems like it's a major upward trajectory from after the full moon will be a little up and down. It is a Libra Aries full moon. So there's a lot of volatility about some other things. I think there's going to be a lot of legal activity happening in the month of October because of all the Libra and Mercury retrograde things that were trying to be pushed through the collective in the past 4 months while everybody was basically sleeping. People are awakening like crazy. October is going to be a huge month of awakening of the collective, realizing that, hey, there's some things going on here that are being imposed on us that legally don't really have the right to be doing that. So we're going to see a lot of legal contentions coming and lawsuits around various things. And everybody can guess what that might be about. Certain freedoms that might be trying to be taken away from people. So we're going to see a lot of action in the collective around that, which of course will have some repercussions in the economy. The economic October's a weird month because the economic piece is sort of on the back burner. Like I think everything is going to rally. and it's November, after the second half of November, that things get dicey. But then with because of the eclipses, we've got an eclipse on November 19th and an eclipse on December 4th. But also I'm seeing that sometimes it takes things a while to really show you what the new normal is, right? So I think January, the month of January, we won't know really what is going on for a longer term until we get to January. And yes, I did say January was dicey. January is dicey for many reasons. Astrologically, we have another Mercury retrograde going on during January in the sign of Aquarius. But if we want to talk about things besides the crypto market, we're going to see more limitations in people's movements. I hate to say, December, it'll be interesting to see if the Christmas holiday gets in under the wire. But January, February feel a little bit restricted in people's movements. And then I see a rebirth in March, April with crypto too, the next wave. It's going to be a kind of wild ride in the coming months. And everything, as you know, we're already getting sneak previews. We're seeing earthquakes, volcanoes, stock market crashing, mandates trying to be imposed, all kinds of things going on. So it's all up to people to really raise their vibration and connect with their higher self, with their source, to weather these coming times. And the best way of doing that is to not go into fear. So if your cryptocurrencies went down, don't freak out. It's just a moment in time. It's going to regroup and recoup in the short term.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I feel that for the past few days, the market have the correction. It's just a temporary situation, but I think. Go ahead.
It's a blip in the radar, but I actually see this as a big test too for people, to stay out of fear, to not freak out. We're being tested constantly in our realities. And the reason that some of us say that is because the third dimensional matrix that is shifting and changing so rapidly and evolving into a fifth dimensional higher frequency for those who would like to, for those who are working on themselves and doing the work to be existing in a higher vibration. And as I've always said, crypto is a piece of that, because crypto is allowing financial freedom from the 3D matrix, and to some extent, and before it's regulated. But there is an opportunity in the month of October, November, and then again in the spring, I would say March and April of 2022, to get to a level of crypto gain that may help you to go to the next level. And the things that interfere, like I notice people get very like, your Jill's wrong, or they get, well, you know, you can't put all the responsibility on the psychics and the astrologers. We see patterns where we have some gifts. I've worked as a professional psychic and astrologer for over 30 years. And it's really everybody's own responsibility to create their own reality. You get all this help from predictive means such as SL, myself, other psychics, other healers, energy people who we all know who are very pivotal at this time in helping shift the collective and the consciousness. But it's really everybody's own responsibility to create this prosperity for themselves. And, you know, that means step out of scarcity or lack consciousness. And on the other side, step out of greed consciousness, because those things are going to interfere with the flow of your own personal prosperity more than anything else and more than anything going on out there. Helpful tip.
Yeah, I think that's a good agree.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I know when after my divorce and going through, you know, I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years and very controlling relationship. Never, you know, I was given grocery money and that was it. And all of a sudden I was, you know, 5 kids and 2 with special needs, and God, the universe just kept showing up for me. And I got a great job. I got a house in an area that I could get my kids on the special needs bus, and, you know, everything just kept happening. And I just kept going, thank you for taking care of me. Thank you. Like what I needed to do, what I needed to do on this earth kept happening for me, because when you have a job to do, those tools will be provided for you. And so I think of it that way, like quit focusing on, when you brought up the greed point, Jill, I think that gets in people's way. If you'll focus on the work you're supposed to be doing on this earth, the tools will be provided for you. I think that was such a great point.
Thanks. That and you said it too. Gratitude for what is showing up. And just to get back on track too. Yeah, this was great share there for everybody to hear. The market is going to be really good. So we're just hitting a blip. That's basically the point, to clarify for people, because I'm seeing my audience is confused. Well, the confusion might be because there is going to be an upward trajectory. That's definitely, that feels energetically guaranteed by the astrology, especially after the 18th of October. But I think October in general is going to be great. Mercury retrograde at the end of September is a recalibration. November looks really, really good. We just run into in November that whole situation with when to take out your gains, what's going to happen to platforms, what's going to happen to accessibility of funds. And that's like a call that people have to make for themselves. But the profits, the gains will be there in October and November. And we have been going back and forth to what is the actual peak date. I'm holding with that. I'm focusing on the Scorpio new moon of November 4th and 5th as being a peak date. Although it probably will continue going after that. I think we hit a roadblock around the eclipses. But again, there is confusion around that, because is it gonna like go down at the eclipse, before, after? That's what we have to keep a close eye on. But I do feel like we're going to be in a straightaway upward trajectory in most of October, specifically after the 18th and through the new moon in Scorpio. After that, that's something we'll have to suss out as we get closer to it. But again, there are always these, I don't think the surprises are really going to hit in November.
So the surprise that you said hit in November, can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, I just think that there's going to be something that's going on. Again, it could be global economic. That's why it's not particular to the US, but the US obviously is going to be totally affected by it. There's going to be a lot of economic issues coming up globally. Like, I mean, it seems that a source of it may be China, because of the fact now, everybody knows that there's these big, there's all these supply chain ships. There's all these ships that are off, that have all kinds of supplies on them, and they're not coming into port. So it's going to create supply chain delay, but my thing is, I really don't like to go into the dark scenarios. It's good to be warned about them, but how we deal with them is up to us. So there can be all kinds of things happening in our societies, but if we go into fear and reactivity, it's going to affect us more, instead of saying, oh, we knew something was going to hit, but this too will pass, And it seems interesting that how much of this is manipulated and how much of it is actually meant to happen. That's where, in times like that, where it's hard to get clean reads, because what should happen can be manipulated. But that being said, I want to stick by that October, November are very good financially for crypto. Coming into November, I think it's something economically global that is going to affect, sort of like what we saw the last couple of days with this thing in China and their real estate magnate. Something is going to affect all markets. Again, how bad is it? I think it's a holiday season. Economy will rally. There's also things such as the moratoriums on rents. And, there's the whole real estate market. We've been predicting that it was going to go from being this low inventory, high prices to okay, now there's going to be more inventory and there's so many houses going into foreclosure. You know, we're seeing big reversals because we're in this time of extremes. We're in this energetic times of extreme on the 3D to really, I would say the good news about why is everything kind of chaotic and like this. So people awaken. So people awaken, take back their own sovereignty, health, financial, and in other ways in their lives. So crypto plays a big part in this because people who are invested in crypto also tend to be more visionary. They've seen that this is a future reality as far as economic goes. And some people say, oh, it's always going to be a parallel reality along with the existing. That's up for debate, right? But it is pretty ingrained. There's a lot of new people investing and even finding out about crypto. So I want to hold by some of my original predictions that those who are going to make really good money are the ones who have sussed it out and really have studied it and understand, you know, the different cycles and are just, you know, not reactive and take advantage of these high cycles, such as the one coming in October and November, and again in the spring of 2022.
Well, and Jill, I just want to touch on what you were saying about China. We have to also remember that China owns a lot of property here in the U.S. as well. So that could affect that. Also, recently, just a few weeks ago, China discovered 2 large oil reserves and was doing deals with Russia, not in U.S. dollar. So the U.S. dollar is no longer the world reserve currency. They were doing it in digital yuan.
Wow.
And also Saudi Arabia was doing deals with, was it Russia, for protection. So the US dollar is no longer the world reserve currency. The whole, this is a deal breaker. This is like a game changer. And so this has not fully rolled into the US, but it's coming. So this wave is coming around the world, and these dollars are going to flood back into the U.S. economy. So
it's weird. I know there's so thanks for sharing that piece. You know, as a healer of many years, psychic astrologer, something that those of us in the healer community have been doing, and you know, crypto people might find this a little odd because of it being the new and the new paradigm. But what we've been doing to keep we keep cash flowing. All healers, we exchange in cash to keep that, you know, because there's some predictions too that if there is, you know, the main currency, there will be community currencies. And in the healers community, really locally, you can't really give dollars to your healer friend who lives in California, you know, you can Venmo. But in those local communities, among people who are sharing even goods, like if they're buying something or you're buying a service from somebody, we try to keep the cash inflow because guess what? You can't, you know, people don't keep, you know, it's obvious why you would do cash exchange among people for those services. And which is another, it's almost like the opposite paradigm of what crypto and blockchain is doing. But I just thought that might be interesting. You know, I think your listeners would like to hear that, to understand that, yeah, we do have a changes coming. And so, you know, do what you can within your communities to make sure that you get, you know, you have a rate of exchange, whatever it is. As the central, you know, as like the federal, as things have, as the economy and the currencies as we know them tend to be changing and shifting rapidly.
Right.
I agree with that too. So Jill, right now is September 22nd. We have about 8 days left until September is over.
Yes.
So my spirit guide showed me that Bitcoin could hit $37,000. I don't know the timeline. The market went down a lot yesterday. I forgot how many percent, but it went from $48,000 to $40,000.
Wow.
In their technical analysis, my prediction and other people's prediction in my Discord, some of us think that Bitcoin hasn't hit the bottom. It hasn't, we might probably have one more drops toward the end of the month. Could be between September 28th into September 30th. So based on BTC natal chart, do you see anything going on the last 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting that they're picking up on that. The way that the moon of Bitcoin is going to be affected on the 29th and 30th, and there's a lot of difficult aspects in general. Moon is square Mars. We got moon square Mercury around the 30th. Yeah, I would agree with that. That could be definitely, because then we'll have Mercury retrograde on the 27th. 27, 28 are going to be weird days because it's like, oh, we're now in a Mercury retrograde cycle. But I could see that there's some kind of event or some situation that would, in looking at Bitcoin's chart, that totally makes sense that we could see a drop on the 29th and 30th. And then just still a little bit, a little bit erratic until we get to that new moon when I think there might be a big boost. I'm just going to look at something on Bitcoins. I'm going to lose my screen with you guys, but I just want to look at the dasha of Bitcoin, the the cycle in the Vedic chart of Bitcoin to see what kind of dasha it's going to go. Sub. We look at subs for smaller days. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, Mercury. Yeah, actually, it goes into, okay, so I think that the last few days of September, but even around the 1st of October could be a little bit weird too. The 6th through the 14th, it's still a bit erratic, but the 6 is starting to come up. 1014 to 1025, boom. It's a nice boom up in the Bitcoin chart. 1120 to 1125, that's November 20th to 25th. That could be despairing, but then there's a little bit of a rally, November 25th through the 10th of December. And then it's not going to be so good from the 14th. Then it hits a Mars minor dasha. Yeah, that could get a little dicey. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So September, astrologically, the market could be volatile or drop toward the end of the month.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It'll be very interesting to see what happens on the 27th and the 28th. Okay, 10-16 to erratic from October. So October 6th is like a nice date when things will start making headway, but it won't be a full upward trajectory. It might be like up a little bit and then, okay, up. I really think, it's interesting that I'm looking at the Bitcoin dasha, but I'm looking at the astrology and the Western astrology. And this is why people, that's why when you're reading, you have to take in all the information. And because I work with two systems, both the Western astrology and Vedic, you kind of have to look, okay, the Vedic isn't including the outer planets. And I'm seeing the outer planet of Pluto going direct and Pluto going direct. They don't work with Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. Pluto going direct is being a huge marker of shift and change. Pluto, by the way, is a planet that is the ruler of the sign Scorpio, and Scorpio rules the money. That's why it's like big money. And the next day, the moon goes into Scorpio on the 7th and 8th. So I actually think the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, I'm going to hold by. I think that's going to be, by erratic, it won't be like a very steep upward climb, but it's going to be incrementally continuing. It's almost like, a kid starts riding a bike. Maybe they're a little shaky. They're on the bike. Then it's like they start riding it, getting confident, and then they're cruising and trying to go fast. That's what we're going to be dealing with in October, getting back on the bike.
Earlier, you mentioned a couple of times Mercury go retrograde. What does it do to the BTC?
Mercury going retrograde in Bitcoin's chart?
Yes.
Okay, let me just check something.
In general.
So it's going to go retrograde in its third house. Yeah. Let me just look in its, let me go into so Mercury retrograde. It's, so it's Mercury. It's actually going to, as it goes retrograde, and it's going to kind of harmonize with the North Node. It's going to go back and harmonize. All right. I don't know how technical I want to get here, but let's see. When was the last time, when was the highest peak we had recently? Because I believe it will actually return to the degree. Tell me in the last couple weeks, what was the highest, tell me the date of the highest peak of Bitcoin, because I actually think Mercury is going to return to that degree.
Monday, September 6th.
Okay, Monday, which by the way was another new moon. These new moons, it's funny. Full moons tend to create the erratic. New moons tend to kick them off. So Mercury was at 6. Okay, it's going to go back. What was going on around the 12th of September? That wasn't the highest, huh? It was
no, that was a dip.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but you said so the 6th is the highest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it won't be going back that far, but it will get very close to that degree on the 6th. Yeah. Wild. Okay. I just saw the Mercury going direct cycle going back to that. So the degree that Mercury is going to go direct on mimics the one when it was at its highest in September. So boom, that kind of says the Mercury. So the Mercury retrograde is going to almost like do a bit of a pause. I think it's going to get things to rally. It's when it goes direct. Everything's pointing to like that time period that, the 6th will be an interesting day because it's a new moon. I think there'll definitely be an upswing, but I mean, we're really looking at the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th of October as a takeoff, the rocket takes off type of situation.
So my audience and Lisa audience are not familiar with astrology. Can you tell us when is BTC going Mercury retrograde and when it go direct?
Okay, yeah, for everybody needs to know, I mentioned this earlier. So Mercury goes retrograde the 27th of September, which is that last week in September when we said, hey, it should be okay for a couple days, might rally, but then we're seeing a dip, Mercury going retrograde, because it's almost like everything's pulling back into reverse. So reverse means like it's going backwards, right? So that would indicate a dip. But then it goes direct on October 16th. When Mercury goes direct, it's like it's got a little bit of a momentum behind it. That's why it's going to push the markets forward. It's also got Jupiter with it, the expander. So that's why I really see the end of October as being, not only will Mercury be going direct, but so will Jupiter, as I said, which is the planet of expansion. And that's going to be like the wind behind the sails of crypto. And just to give people a little insight how long Jupiter's been retrograde for, it's been retrograde since June 20th, June 23rd. And like I said, a lot of stuff has happened in the collective during that time since June. And even look at the trajectory of Bitcoin since June, right? It's not been rallying, has it? Jupiter's been, it's been very low. It hasn't been in its former glory that it was in earlier in 2021, because we've had all those Pluto's been direct, Uranus has been, Pluto's been retrograde, Jupiter's been retrograde, Saturn's been retrograde, the planet Uranus has been retrograde. These are all indicators of society and what happens. So everything has been on sort of going in reverse motion, not going forward. Look at what's been happening in our society. Looks like we're not going forward, we're going in reverse.
That's the truth.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you for providing us those additional informations. So November, a lot of my member, the community, anyone who is in the crypto market right now, either listening to psychic or astrologers or in any kind of predictions, people have been planning and thinking of take some partial profit in either from mid-November until the end of November, because the market will have a big correction. That based on all the people prediction. Based on BTC natal chart, can you provide us how big is this correction will be?
Okay. So first of all, I want to address, I think it's good that people do, in times of uncertainty, we turn to the astrologers, psychics. The other thing I want people to know that there's a lot of people out there calling themselves astrologers and psychics, and that's great because everybody has intuition and they can develop it. I've been doing this work for over 30 years professionally, so I've seen cycles come and go. I also focus more on individual charts, which is, you charts, astrological charts are astrological charts, but so individual, and then we have what we would call, like the United States chart or Bitcoin's chart. And so that being said, that something like a Bitcoin, a crypto market's very different to read than an individual's, because the crypto is very much influenced by collective and collective consciousness. But that being said, I can't wait for Jupiter to go direct in Bitcoin's chart, because it's going to be going fast through its 7th house, going into its 8th house, which is why also next year Bitcoin is still going to do, or crypto market, there's going to be such a nice rally as we get into this spring, because Jupiter's in Bitcoin's payout position of the 8th house in the spring of 2022. But and the other thing about the Bitcoin chart, Saturn has been retrograde. Saturn goes direct on the 10th. It's going to come over the indicator of Bitcoin's, well, actually the material gain or the material future, i.e. financial. Saturn's going to come over the north node of Bitcoin, which will be really cool. It's actually later in the year, which also it could be why, we're pushing the time of Bitcoin's expansion out through November. But these planets that were delaying outcome are now going to be going forward. That's very good indicator for, again, we use Bitcoin sort of as the primary chart for crypto in general, just because it's, the mothership, so to speak, for now. So I think that it definitely, the Jupiter going direct is going to be very, very good, as indicated through the Bitcoin chart. And Pluto, by the way, is a big one for Bitcoin, because it was founded with Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto going direct on the 6th. So all these outer planet movements through the Bitcoin chart indicate that we're going to see some expansion. It's really good. Then we throw an eclipse into the mix, though, and that eclipse is going to affect the Scorpio and Taurus, which are affecting all the money markets. And we saw that cryptocurrency is not, what's the word? It's vulnerable to what happens in the regular markets. And so I want to say that there's going to be something that happens in the regular markets and in the economy that, Bitcoin will take a hit from it as well. So, and that's the thing, you can't predict something in a vacuum. You have to look at all what it exists in. Like if somebody, take an example, if an individual wants me to read her chart and she's in a very toxic relationship or marriage, we can look and see what's going to happen in her life, but is she still will have that obstacle of the toxic marriage until she makes a shift. Do you understand? So you can't you have to take into account the existing, the world around us. That you can't read it in isolation. Do you understand? So if we were to read Bitcoin's chart in isolation, it actually looks really good with these transits going forward. But then we know that there's something that's going to happen that's going to affect the greater economy. So, Bitcoin isn't totally sheltered or isolated from that.
It makes a lot of sense because right now we're also always talking about Bitcoin in the US dollar price.
Mm.
So if the US dollar is destroyed, especially with these bills that they're trying to pass and what's going on in the world globally right now, if all of that goes away or is destroyed or whatever that ends up looking like, and we have to revalue it in some way, that could also be that kind of you know affecting Bitcoin that way as well.
And I want to go back to something we've alluded to in earlier videos and I see this in SL's group. They're very conscious people for the most part. No, you all are. But the point is that, again, get really clear with your intentions. Why do you want this, what we call noble wealth?
Mhm.
What's noble wealth? Noble wealth, you're using it to help your life get better, to help your loved ones, to help the greater good. So aligning with noble wealth will certainly bring you wealth, and aligning with noble wealth and being a good person, right? Not screwing people out of money or whatever. You have to, the karma, the dharma and karma go together. You have to do things that won't, come back and get you by, you don't want to be kind, basically, and don't screw other people over. If you're not screwing over other people financially, you won't get screwed over. I mean, that's very simplistic, but basically your intentions for the wealth, I think we need to come back to that. What is your intention? And I like that, what my guru used to call noble wealth. Okay. Noble wealth comes to one when they're going to do something better, betterment of themselves, betterment of the world, get out the greed factor, get out the fear factor, get out the scarcity factor. And so I would remind everybody to align with those principles, because those are true principles of prosperity. And I want to, I'm even getting guidance to suggest that people read books on prosperity consciousness. There's some old, great classic books out there with affirmations on prosperity. Florence Scovel Shinn, we're talking, these are from like the 1950s, 60s, and a woman called Catherine Ponder. And these have survived how many markets, how many ups and downs. They're like 60 plus years old, these books. But they're prosperity consciousness. There's a lot more to add to the list, but it's this kind of, instead of going into fear and every day watching, do some prosperity consciousness work on yourself, or, raise your vibration and, have gratitude, listen to good music. I mean, yes, people are going through challenging times, and you can't do spiritual bypass and just pretend like they're not there. But I guess the biggest thing right now in our society is to not go into fear. Do not go into fear of what's fear is expectations appear real, or fear is, there's so many, but fear is what it does. It brings your vibration down. Be in the present moment. Oh, Bitcoin's down right now, but I know that's not how it's going to be next month. Try to stay in the moment and don't go into fear. I think that's really going to drain the potentiality for your good to come to you. Little spiritual teaching in there with the info, but everybody needs that right about now, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I noticed really future informations in my group has been concerning about 2022. I know that we're not there yet. So they're thinking that based on what I watch on YouTube and other people predictions, they think that Bitcoin or the market will have a really good year next year. We may have a major correction, could be up to 90%, or we'll go down to the bear market. So I don't know if you can see any month.
Well, weird with 2022. I get some definitive information. One is that January is not going to be so good. So that could be, the big dip, okay. And February is kind of like, it could go, February is kind of like this, but I do see March, April, and I'm not sure how far into May that it does really well. But my guidance hasn't really given me the second half of 2022. which is weird, you know, but sometimes they'll do that. They'll only give me like a 6-month preview, and you got to kind of work with that energy, because that energy is going to dictate what happens in the following 6 months. And we're certainly in a time period when there's so many realities happening at once and so many potentialities, sort of like quantum physics, right? And it's really where people's intention and where the most energy is going to direct is going to bring outcome. So interesting. And cryptocurrency is very influenced by that, I noticed. And that's why having groups like yours that rally the intention is like, we're going to, you know, it's going to raise, we're going to invest, it's all good. Once that there's not a lot of interference from outside influences, right? Like the international scenario and volcanoes and floods and earthquakes, of which we're going to have a lot more of that kind of scenario, as well as this planet is rebirthing herself as we're having shifts out of the 3D matrix into higher consciousness as people awaken. I mean, this is the good thing about everything that's going on. We're going to see a lot of people truly awakening, and that's going to affect this planet and all of our realities. And if just your group awakens to a true prosperity consciousness, that's going to affect the outcome of crypto and basically the planet, right? So you guys do have power in unity, and that's the whole thing that's happening. We're going from divisive consciousness to unity consciousness. So as we go into answer that question, the second half of 2022, I think that, you know, there's something that keeps coming up, and other people have kind of alluded to it. When I think that, and my guides gave me this a while back, but SL, I think you might agree with this, that when we start getting into, let's say, late summer of 2022 or even summer, there could be some interference in the cryptocurrency, meaning like regulations and taxes and bigger interests trying to get basically their paws on this level of potential wealth. Do you guys understand what I mean by that?
Yes, we certainly 100%.
So that's why I get like, I'm like, is that going to happen or is it not? Is it going to, you know, will 2022 be clean and clear of that? Or is that going to close in on cryptocurrency? I mean, people.
And maybe that depends on, like you were saying earlier, maybe that depends on that collective consciousness. Like, are we going to make that decision? It hasn't been decided yet. Is collective consciousness going to rise or not?
Exactly, Lisa. That's why this is people don't realize unity consciousness. Stay out of fear, stay out of stay out of all the lower vibratory anger, fear, greed, hate. I know it's really hard for people. It's not that low. Anxiety is a little higher up, but still anxiety, you know, it's hard because there's forces in our society that want to stir up anxiety and fear. And they tend to be buzz drainers, so to speak. They kind of keep you from accessing your good. But unity consciousness of like-minded people, such as what SL has created in her crypto community and these videos create, that has more power than people realize. You know, as long as, again, it's not perpetuating lower vibratory things such as violence, hate, greed, and all of that. You know, because they're, you know, it's united we stand, divided we fall. And unity consciousness. And by that, I mean, again, it's not like you don't have to align with people that you totally disagree with. I'm saying about align in a heart-centered way with those that are on, you know, a same vibration as you or same agenda. I mean, and it's not about, it gets tough. I just polarizing has been a plan to divide and conquer. So polarizing never works. It works in third dimensional level because it's going to allow certain agendas to happen. But, you know, you unify for, again, the principles of prosperity, sovereignty, health, happiness. You know, we actually have, I think, there were some founding fathers who tried to bring, what was it called? Health, happiness, health, having a pursuit of happiness. Whatever happened to those traditions, that is still, they were all avatars or Mahatma's great souls, even though people are like, oh, Jefferson had slaves and stuff, but that was his human side. And, I think that was kind of whatever, that was his personality that got in the way of his higher consciousness. But the point is that sometimes great souls come into a society to create something better. And that's what happened at the founding of the United States. And some of this stuff has been lost over the years or distilled or not, Mahatma, great soul in Sanskrit, maybe some non-Mahatmas have interfered with the plan, the divine plan for the future of this country. But, the only thing you have control over is yourself. But if you align with people who are on a path of transformation, healing, things are good. And you create really good realities. I mean, I've seen this with groups of people I've worked with, healers in person, on Zoom, that you can influence outcome. I mean, one of the things is with the weather. I don't know if I've talked about this, that I had a group and at one point there was a hurricane heading to Hawaii, and with prayer and intention, it didn't hit Hawaii because we were asking it get directed out to the ocean. So I think a lot of this weather phenomena that's happening can be redirected with the power of right intention, prayer, and, consciousness for healing. And then you got to look, okay, I'm going to say it. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, that's very interesting topic that you share with us. And I totally agree about the power of intention and the power of positive thoughts. Some of my members actually, generate additional income for them, even during COVID, even during the lockdown, because he lived in Australia. He listening to, I think, those YouTube video, positive intentions and positive thinking, and then he follows some of the protocol done from the videos. He has been doing great, even though he's in the middle of lockdown.
Yeah, see, that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. It does work. I mean, during COVID, when we were here in our area on quarantine where I live, I was doing spiritual ceremonies every day, something in the Sanskrit tradition called puja, which is basically a ceremony to connect with the divine and send that energy out into the world. So there's so many different practices and prayers that you can do. It doesn't matter what tradition, as my teachers and gurus say, truth is one and many are the names. But yeah, that's a great example, I think. And there's so much of it on YouTube now. There's so much of that power of positive thinking. And in the past, you'd have to just get books and read them. But now you can absorb it either through audio or visual or read.
Are these some of the lessons that you have on your website, Jill?
Yeah, I'm putting together, I have some modules on developing intuition and prosperity consciousness, which I'm going to really share not only the Sanskrit mantras, but a lot of other things I've learned throughout the years. There's a lot of feng shui cures people can do in their, in their simple life feng shuis. I have what I share is mostly right now I'm doing readings, and I'm also doing something called alchemical hypnotherapy, which is a way to go in and let's say you have a block around prosperity, you go in and we would find a guide, an inner guide that's going to help you with that. And a lot of people right now are shifting paths in their lives. Like, hey, what do I want to do with something different? The COVID woke me up. I don't think I want to work in my corporation. Oh, and now they're mandating that I get a vaccine. I think I want to change my job. I'm seeing a lot of that with people. So I have techniques called alchemical hypnotherapy. I haven't really got those in detail up yet, but basically you go in and rally an inner resource that will help you with a particular problem in your life. Like, oh, I need my, rally an inner teacher who's going to help you with sussing out what should I do next in my life. Because I'm so honored and privileged to have been able to help and to continue to help people in the ways I do. But again, in this Aquarian age, it's teaching people how to rally these resources for themselves. This is why I'm doing a developing intuition module. I want people to be able to go in and listen to this and find my inner guide. And then I look at my Bitcoin profile. You know, I look at my crypto portfolio and I just get a hit that like, oh, I'm going to invest in this, or I'm going to do this trade. Ultimately, that's my goal, is to teach everybody in your group how to do this so that they don't have to rely on outer, you know, they're going to connect with their own inner psychic, and then they know they want, because you all have this, everybody has this within them. It just lies latent until you can learn how to activate it. And a lot of people have it and it's active, but it can be a little haphazard. So there are techniques and tools to make it more directed and focused. And there's many techniques from many different traditions, and that is what I teach. So I'd have people stay tuned to this compilation of all these different techniques that will help people on different levels. Health and healing is another big one. I mean, what are the three biggies? Health, healing, prosperity, money, and of course, love. So,
well, I just wanted to show everybody, I featured both of your websites. The links are in the description to this video, as well as SL's Patreon link and her Telegram channel link as well. So you guys can find all those. You can also find a link to my Patreon and then some links to different wallets, and also a link to perpetual assets if you're looking for either buying precious metals or having a crypto 401k that you hold the keys to. So that's another option for you guys.
You know, can I say something about that? Spirit keeps saying precious metals,
Mm-hmm.
but that big coming up big. Yeah. The other thing, people can learn some of these techniques, the Sanskrit mantras for abundance, prosperity, on my podcast, Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. Those are there's so many mini teachings that are in that podcast. All the Sanskrit mantra things are all mini teachings on these techniques as well. So
yeah, that's awesome. So the audience on YouTube are curious about a couple coins. I don't know if I can squeeze in one or two questions.
Okay.
I think the first one is DigiByte. A lot of people are waiting for it to rise. It has dropped a little bit from 7 cents to like 0.045 cents, I think yesterday. I haven't checked today's price. So they are curious, is from now in the year or either the first 3 months of next year?
DigiByte.
Yes.
All right, let me see if I can check out. So, I mean, I have its Western chart. I'm more curious, and it's Vedic for the actual Dasha cycles. DigiByte, where are you? Oh, yeah. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to have to defer to the Western chart. So there it is. And again, there's some. Okay, so the retrograde planets are certainly affecting DigiByte. I mean, the big breakout for DigiByte, which I've shared this before. I mean, when Pluto goes direct, that is going to help it quite a bit on the 6th, because it's going to harmonize with the natal moon. You know, people have to understand when planets are retrograde, they're not in their full power, so they can't really help you that much. And in a person's chart, planets retrograde, we use retrograde cycle to do a lot of inner work. But anyway, DigiByte, Pluto going direct on the 6th, harmonizes it with its natal moon. And that should give it a nice boon, a natal moon, a nice boon. Not really big time for DigiByte until it's got Pluto over its natal Mercury, which is next year, which is show time and go time. That starts in late February, strong March, April, and then the Pluto will go retrograde. So those are big months for DigiByte taking off. I mean, we'll see some nice upward action in this particular cycle in October with the Pluto direct through October. But then I just see a big show for DigiByte. Yeah, and I see. Yeah, I have to sign off too. I didn't realize it was almost 5. But I hope that helps people.
Thank you so much, Joe, for stopping by. I know you've been very busy with your work and your books.
Well, I'm still available for readings. People can go on my website. I've opened up a little bit after my publishing deadline that I had, and after some other things. So I think this is a really good time, late September into October, to, get clarity for yourself and for, your financial wealth and well-being going forward. So people can contact me at JillJardineAstrology.com to set up readings. And those who have had them can speak to it. It's multifaceted. We cover a lot of things. Been doing this work for a long, long time. So, maybe ask any of your other fellow members who have had readings how it worked for them.
My birthday's coming up, so I've got
Oh,
to
yeah.
get in contact with you
I
and get
know.
mine done. Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
You've got to be a Libra, right? You're a Libra with all that beauty and grace.
I am a Libra. I'm October 21st, and so I'm super excited about when you've been talking about the moon, the full moon on October 20th, and so I think that's going to be a great birthday gift.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the hunter moon, so you will be the huntress.
That'll be great.
Yeah, Libra Scorpio cusp. So the Scorpio will deliver some monies for you during this birth year, Lisa.
Itchy palm. Yeah.
So Lisa, I think you'll be on the road with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, this weekend we've got our meetup.
You mean Clint Eastwood? You're going to be on the road with
Clint Westwood.
Clint Westwood.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry, Clint Westwood.
My buddy Clint Westwood that I do my Friday show with. We're on the road once a month. We do a meetup.
Nice.
Next month we'll be celebrating my birthday a little bit early. We'll be in Jersey on the 15th at the Doghouse Saloon in something Jersey. But we'll be talking about it this Friday.
That's very proud hanging out with Bruce and the E Street band there.
Oh, that would be fun.
In Jersey. I think that you're not going to be on the Jersey Shore, but if you are, that will be really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. A bunch of Litecoin family are in that area and going to meet up with us. So it's going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. So we've got Dallas this weekend. And we just closed ticket sales today at noon on that. The one in Friday will not have ticket sales. It'll be just an open event. Everybody's welcome. So
the one on Friday, where will be at?
We're not giving the location because it was a private event. Yeah.
So should I share your road show with my Patreon members?
Yeah, we would love to have everybody come to the one in October. That one's going to be great. And then we'll do one again in November. We're going to do a Friendsgiving one in Illinois, in Peoria. And then in December, we're going to do a crypto Christmas party. And I think we should all be really happy. I'm hoping we're going to be doing those Bitcoin $100,000 crypto parties that Uncle Cliff was talking about. That's my hope. We're going to do one in Florida in December. So hopefully we'll be having a lot to celebrate. So
that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds like lots of fun. So you guys check that out. We'll be talking about it every Friday on my YouTube channel. So hopefully lots to look forward to. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. I'm about to jump on.
Thank you, ladies.
Prosper and prosper. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.